Natural nitrogen was invented in the 1960s by the late Professor George Sarantakos. George was a son of Greek immigrants to the USA and the grandson of 1,000 years of farmers. George was a leader in nitrogen fixation through the use of bacteria. He developed products in medicine, agronomy, and also in construction. George worked together with NASA and the United Nations. Although he has great discoveries to his credit, George always returned to his first love, the soil. George travelled around Australia to meet up with agronomists and farmers, and these are the main questions asked. These are the main questions asked by agronomists and farmers at over 24 meetings around Australia. Bacteria need a food source, and if your soil has no organic matter, doesn't that mean you have no food? That is correct. When the microbes in natural nitrogen are immobilized, the formula also contains a temporary food source to give it a start. But in soils that do not have enough organic matter, and there's not enough food, then you'll have to use a little bit of nitrogen as an energy source. At least 65 units of nitrogen per hectare or more, at least 130 kilograms urea. Now we recommend applying our product with chemical fertilizers, but you can reduce it up to 75% and then use 100 litres of brew per hectare of our 100:1 mix of product. Of course, this will reduce your costs considerably. You will need more than just nitrogen to cut your fertilizer by that much. Yes, in 98% of cases, you'll have an increase in yield because we'll manufacture tryptophan, which is a menial acid indole. Now, indole is used by farmers to reduce the nematode population, so it's also helping to reduce that population of nematode. When bacteria die, and while they're living, they excrete acetic acid. That's why when you're making wines, sometimes your wine will turn to vinegar, which is acetic acid. Now you put indole and acetic acid together, and you have indole acetic acid. And for you farmers who know what growth hormones are, you'll find that the prominent growth hormone is indole acetic acid. So, our nitro-fixing bacteria as a side effect will make this growth hormone, which will make your crops and your root structures grow faster. And of course, if you can do that naturally, your resistance to different insects and resistance to weeds is greater. Now in a healthy plant, it's known, like daisies give off pyrethrums, a healthy plant will secrete a toxic substance that will not allow any other plants to grow around them, and that includes their own species. We have pictures here in Australia where herbicides or insecticides have not been used, and they have no weeds, nor do you see any holes in the leaves, or any sign of borers, or anything else. Their little microbes make enzymes that eat through the insect structures. Now our representatives sell that as an alternate nitrogen source, a natural nitrogen source. It is not an insecticide, nor is it a herbicide. These things are just extra benefits you may observe. We recommend that you use your herbicides and insecticides, but do a test without them to see if it will work for you on your crops. How long will natural nitrogen fix nitrogen in the soil? Natural nitrogen bacteria is like any inoculants. It has a time period regulated to the time of the average crop, which is 4 to 5 months. After that, you have to apply another application of natural nitrogen into the soil. What source of energy does nitrogen-fixing bacteria use? They use several sources. One is already in natural nitrogen. The others are nitrogen and forms of sugar, and also carbons. What kinds of bacteria are in the natural nitrogen formula? We have 3 basic types: aerobic, which means that the bacteria can live in the air, and anaerobic, which means the bacteria can live without air, and we have molactive, which means they can either be anaerobic or aerobic. Is the produce genetically engineered? No. Will the plant increase in protein content by using natural nitrogen? We have many tests where the protein levels are much higher than normal. During dry conditions, will the bacteria continue to proliferate? No, they will go into a spore and wait until there's a better environment with greater moisture, and then they will proliferate at high rates. Will anhydrous affect natural nitrogen? No, it won't. In fact, our product has nitrofixates, and they will help reach its maximum availability to the roots. Is the bacteria affected by high or low temperatures or direct sunlight? No, it's non-pathogenic, which means they have a harder outside shell and they can resist all kinds of high or low temperatures, as well as any types of rays from the sun. Is the product safe to handle and to make direct contact with the skin? Our bacteria is non-pathogenic and is not toxic to any form of animal, human, or plant tissue. Will natural nitrogen break down the toxic materials in the soil? Yes, it will. It depends on the type of toxic materials. It will not break down radioactive materials. It is used now to remediate soil with high levels of salts and metals. Can herbicides and insecticides be mixed with natural nitrogen and applied at the same time? Yes, they can. In fact, many of our farmers are using this easier method in applying our product. By how much can we reduce our chemical fertilizer when using natural nitrogen? By up to 75%. What guarantee do you give with natural nitrogen? We guarantee our product. If it is used as we request, it will give the highest quality product and the maximum yields. What effect will natural nitrogen have on the pH levels in the soil? Some of our microbes in the natural nitrogen formula are hydrogen fixers and also manipulators that can change the pH levels if it is too acidic or too alkaline. For best results, what level of organic matter or food source should be in the soil? We require at least 2% organic matter, or you can have any source of nitrogen, 25 to 30 units of nitrogen or greater per acre. How does natural nitrogen help plant diseases? Because our product makes the plants faster, healthier, and stronger, then the natural resistance of the plant is elevated, and when this occurs, the natural ways of fighting disease come into play. Does natural nitrogen affect earthworm activity in the soil? It will. It increases the tilth, the arability, and the fertility of the soil naturally. Therefore, earthworm activity will increase. How does natural nitrogen help with salty and/or clay-type soil? In salty soils, the bacteria in natural nitrogen tie up the salts so that it cannot be taken up by the plants. In clay soils, the tilth is improved in this manner. When the bacteria die, they leave strings of polysaccharide shells in the soil, and this changes the tilth of the clay. When the bacteria die, they leave strings of polysaccharide shells in the soil, and this changes the tilth of the clay. So the clay, instead of holding water, will allow water to permeate through it. What environmental benefits will there be when natural nitrogen is used near waterways? The fact that you're reducing the amount of chemical nitrogen, insecticides and herbicides means chemicals will be reduced. Since our product has no residue that seeps into the aquifers or waterways, then the use of it is very beneficial. Can natural nitrogen be mixed with any type of water? For example, bore, chlorinated or salty type waters. Our product can be mixed with any type of water, except highly chlorinated water. Drinking water that's chlorine treated is all right to use. What is the best way to apply natural nitrogen? There's several ways to apply it. Drip irrigation, standard flood irrigation, you can inject at planting, spray by booms on moist grounds, or by pivot irrigation. Will natural nitrogen assist with the breakdowns of trash and stubble? Very much so. Natural nitrogen is used by many as a compost starter or enhancer. How does the nitrogen-fixing bacteria know when the plant requires nitrogen? According to discoveries by national universities, plants communicate with bacteria and they have a symbiotic relationship. Whenever the plants need any type of nutrient, especially nitrogen, they will secrete a polysaccharide, and this feeds the bacteria. And then the bacteria will supply nitrogen to the plant. Natural nitrogen is manufactured in Australia since 1997. It has given record-breaking crops quality and amp quantity, giving farmers a good income, helped make diseases disappear, helped crops recover after floodings, cutting some tree fertilizer programs with 80% less chemicals, taken crops over 200% over a period of time. No pollution for our environment. It is a great replacer for the polluting urea, works deeper than urea, costs less in transport than urea, costs less than urea, have to apply less than urea, only every 4 to 6 months. One 20-litre drum of natural nitrogen produces more nitrogen than 7 tons of urea. Why not switch to natural nitrogen?